All right, apologies for the late start today, guys. I appreciate everybody for being here. Got a lot to get to today. I got quite a few tabs open, so I'll share my screen here momentarily. But first, I want to give a special thanks to Ernie and Michelle. I got your card today from the P.O. Box, went and picked it up. Thank you so much for the donation. God bless both of you up there in Princeton, Minnesota. Never heard of Princeton, but I know it's north of the Twin Cities. So God bless you. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody else for tuning in. Make sure you give it a thumbs up on your way in. Appreciate everybody that gave it a thumbs up, even though they couldn't watch live. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all for being here. God bless you. Shout out to the moderators. You guys are the real MVPs of this channel, helping to keep it going. All right. And then also, I want to say, for anybody that was in the path of Hurricane Ida, I even have family in the path of Hurricane Ida. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope that your power gets turned on soon. I know that New Orleans is in the dark for what might be 3 weeks. I don't know. But the storm wasn't as bad as we thought. I guess the city didn't completely flood out, though some people did get a worse beating from the storm than others. Just God bless everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. All right. So we'll do a few shout outs. If I can pull the chat over on this screen. I think my mouse timed out. Okay, here we go. A few shout outs and then we're going to get started. All right. Sharon says the dog should not be left behind. President Trump gave a service dog a medal when he was in office. Yeah, that's just like I heard about that last night. I knew that we had left Americans behind, not we, them, the incompetent people running the government left Americans behind, but leaving defenseless animals behind. I mean, I think the worst kind of people, mistreat animals and children. If you mistreat animals and children, you deserve to rot in hell. But yeah, appreciate you for being here. Denise, Shelly, Toy, Annie. We got DM always in the building. We got quite a few of you in here. Who else we got? Daniel, Joe from Central Texas. Oh, Joe, Central Texas. Yeah. Appreciate you. All right, cool. We got a good crowd in here. Just remember, guys, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. And let's get started. Now, first, I want to give you guys a follow-up on a story that I covered last week. And what's interesting is I covered it on Saturday, and people started talking about it Monday. A lot of what I cover, understand, is shocking, so shocking that it puts you in disbelief. You're like, there's no way that it's real. But it is, in fact, real. So the woman who lost custody of her child because of her vaccination status, plenty of people are like, there's got to be more to the story. Well, apparently there wasn't more to the story. It's just as they reported it. She lost custody or visitation rights with her son because of her vaccination status. Well, that judge has restored her rights to see her son. Okay. So in the official statement from that judge is, this court hereby vacates paragraph 3 of its August 11th, 2021 order based on the absence of a pleading or hearing on serious endangerment. So they reversed the order. This judge reversed his authoritarian big pharma shilling order that stripped her of her parental rights because she didn't get a medical procedure that he wanted her to get. And apparently this is going on nationwide. I heard about it happening in Ohio. Somebody mentioned it happening in New Mexico, that judges are beginning to ask people if they have been vaccinated and using it as a carrot, dangling it in front of their face. I know that prisoners, people in jail, can get their sentences excommunicated if they get the vaccination. This is sick stuff. This is crazy. We'll let you free if you get this shot, even though you should probably be doing hard time. You should probably be in longer. It's not, we're going to let you out for good behavior. It's, if you get Big Pharma's latest product, we'll let you out. So this story was 100% real. It doesn't appear that there was more to the story. If he just turned around and reversed it, it couldn't have been that she was a negligent drug addict mother. It's that she didn't get Big Pharma's latest product. So anyway, that's an update. That's, I guess you could say that's good news, even though it shouldn't have happened in the first place. She got her parental rights restored. So that's good. That's an update there. And I know these stories are so shocking that they're just hard to believe it's real. But like I said on Saturday, if I told you this story happened in Australia, you would be like, yeah, that's crazy, instead of being shocked. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Now, I really hate this whole Afghanistan debacle. It's so frustrating. It's so infuriating because this is something that's been going on pretty much, the last 20 years. We've been occupying that country. And of course, most people, regardless of their political affiliation, wanted this war to end, but nobody wanted it to end the way that it did, with American citizens being left behind, with military equipment being left behind. We abandoned an Air Force base. We abandoned service dogs. We left allies for dead. Just sloppy. But the fact that the Taliban is celebrating as if they won, because they did win. They won this war. They're undefeated, right? They defeated the Brits. They defeated the Soviets. And now they defeated the most powerful military on earth, the United States of America. And they're celebrating with gunfire. This is from last night. They're shooting your taxpayer-funded guns in the air in celebration of us leaving. So some celebratory gunfire at your expense because, they won. We left in sloppy fashion. We left everything behind. I mean, this has been covered by so many people already. Like, I don't want to rehash everything that happened, but I'm just looking at the entire situation from the time that Biden got in office, one time he was rigged in there, to now. We're only 8.5 months in, right? Tomorrow, September 1st. We're 8.5 months into this man's residency. And this is how bad it is. If you think it's bad now, just wait until tomorrow, right? Just in the last month, this Afghanistan thing, and unfortunately, this is just the beginning of it. This is only the beginning of it. With now that we know for a fact that American citizens have been left behind. Our last troops left a day early. Today was the withdrawal deadline. They withdrew yesterday. That we left American citizens behind. We left all this equipment behind. He reached a new low when the 13 service members who died, heroes who died, they returned with their grieving families waiting. And this man has the nerve to look at his watch. He's looking at his watch as if he's got somewhere better to be than greeting our fallen soldiers who died on his watch because of his incompetence and his mismanagement. This, to me, is a new low. It's not just that he left people to die. It's not just that he left weapons, high-grade military weapons, helicopters. I saw the breakdown on Tucker, all the weapons that were left behind, the hundreds of thousands of guns, rifles, while they're trying to disarm Americans, coincidentally. Left all that behind, left people to die. People have already died, including these 13 service members. And he has a nerve to just look at his watch as if there's something else going on, something better. Look at that. No, there's no media spin, even though they're trying to spin it. They'll try to protect him. They'll gaslight you, right? Because gaslighting is, as you look at this photo and you can see with your eyes that he's looking at his watch, the gaslighting works like this. He only glanced down because a fly landed, or they'll say, this was temporary. It takes longer than a fraction of a second to see exactly what time it is. They'll find a way to spin this as if he didn't look at his watch while fallen service members were returned home in caskets. That's what this photo is. So I have to show this photo because this is the new low. And he could probably sink lower than this. His priorities are all out of whack. This entire administration has been a complete nightmare. like we knew it would be. Nobody's surprised at the nightmare and the unmitigated disaster that it's become, but we didn't know it would be this bad this fast. At least I didn't. And so now, as a result, we're all more unsafe than we were. We're flying in their refugees here, unvetted, probably unvaccinated, probably we don't know what's going on with the refugees. We left American citizens there, dogs, weapons, etc., etc. He's looking at his watch. He wouldn't take questions from the press. When he finally did take questions from the press, he was combative, defensive. First, he said, the buck stops with me. And then he went on to blame everybody but himself, blame Trump, blame the Afghan army. And then his top priority is lecturing you about how to raise your kid and how you're a terrible person because you won't put on a mask. I don't want to take any lectures from Hunter Biden's dad about being a father, about how to raise my kid, about how to govern my own affairs. I don't want to hear anything from a man who tripped up the stairs, sniffs children, routinely insults minorities, he calls a black man a boy. Remember when he said the Japanese boy won the US Open? I mean, I tell you what, guys, in order to fully just lay out this man, everything that he has done throughout history from the time he was a senator from the 70s up until now, I would need a team of like 5 people. Like, okay, all right, you get a list of all the racist and bigoted things Joe Biden said. You give me a list of all the times he was inappropriate with women, with children, all the inappropriate things he said to make people uncomfortable. Let's get all of his corruption, everything that he's done over the past, including with his brother, with his son, right? And then you get a list of all the gaffes he's made, all of the mental blunders, the mental blockages, all of that. It would take an entire team of people just to bring it all together. I don't have enough time to do it. And yet this is the guy that got 81 million votes. This is by far the worst possible person that they could prop up and put on a pedestal to make it seem like he is sane, he is competent, he is capable. I mean, damn, you could have picked Andrew Yang. You could have picked Kirsten Gillibrand, for all I care. You could have picked basically any Democrat on that stage and presented them as at least competent enough to answer questions, to be coherent, to be present, to know what planet they're on. They picked the worst, most corrupt, oldest, whitest guy. I thought this was the party of diversity, right? They chose that, and now they have to work overtime to convince you otherwise, convince you that your eyes and ears deceive you. You do not see him trip up the stairs. You did not see him fall asleep while he's meeting with the president or prime minister of Israel. Look at this. He can't even pretend to be present. All they show is him eating ice cream. That's why they show you so much of him, pictures of him eating ice cream and petting his dog Major. Look how much he is so sane and so competent. And the spin doctors in the dinosaur legacy media are already starting to pivot and, try to put some sheen on this entire turd that is the Afghanistan withdrawal, surrender. They're trying to make it seem like this was an act of bravery. Under pressure, Joe Biden delivered, ending America's longest standing war. He's such an amazing person because they have to spin, because his approval rating, which already sucked, was in a free fall. The people that did support him openly, they're nowhere to be found. There's a handful of people who are just, I don't know, they're going for broke on Twitter. They're still openly defending him. But most other people, the 81 million large that support this man, they're all in hiding. Where are they at? Well, I don't see any Build Back Better signs. I remember even like 3 months ago when I would go to these flag waves in Central Florida, you would see people driving by to kind of counter protest us. They would have Biden flags on the back of their pickup trucks. They were enthusiastic, like, yeah, look at Biden's in there. Trump lost. Get over it. He's building back better. Where are those people now? I don't see them. They're hiding. You know why? It's because they know how bad this is. They can't defend it. Matter of fact, the people the people I know who voted for Biden, they know how bad this is, but because of pride, because of shame, they don't want to admit it. So it's better to just be quiet. It's better to just say nothing, right? But 5 minutes ago, they were all enthusiastic. They were all talking about Trump lost, get over it, because nobody with two brain cells to rub together would believe that we'd be in this exact situation if Trump were in office. And these are people who hated Trump. They hated him, but they understood that he meant business, at least on the foreign stage, at least as it relates to foreign policy. Now they can see it crystal clear, because everything that they accused Trump of, Biden is guilty of doing, saying, all of those things. Remember, they're like, is Trump mentally fit? I mean, he's holding a cup to drink water with two hands. Trump appears to grab railing as he walks down the stairs. Is he physically fit? Is he capable? Should he have a fitness test, a physical? Meanwhile, Biden on camera tripped up the stairs. How many mental gaffes and breakdowns has Biden had? They said Trump is this raging racist. He called the military losers and suckers, according to an anonymous source from the New York Times. Oh, really? Where's the video? Can you produce that? Oh, you can't do that, but we actually have video of Biden disrespecting the military on multiple occasions. Clap for that, you stupid bastards. You remember when he said that? He's disrespected the military multiple times. Meanwhile, you can literally Google Trump in the military. I should probably do it right now and click images and see the military respecting Trump, loving Trump. He showed up, surprised him on Christmas Eve overseas. He flew over there. He commanded the military. He was a true commander in chief. But meanwhile, they're all like, yeah, Biden is amazing. He's better than Trump. He's going to bring back this. But Biden has only done everything that they said Trump was guilty of. That's all I'm saying. It's the wildest thing. So why you don't see a lot of enthusiastic Build Back Better fans, it's because they're hanging their heads in shame, because they know that this man is a disaster. Looking at his watch while people who died because of his dumb decisions get returned to the United States in caskets, pine boxes. And he's looking at his watch. He withdraws from Afghanistan, leaves American citizens behind in Afghanistan, waits until today to address the country. I'm sure he's got some prepared remarks. He'll probably do an about face and walk away without taking any questions. If somehow somebody slips through the cracks and he calls on them and they weren't on his pre-approved list, then he'll get flustered. He'll get combative. He'll probably blame Trump. What he's probably going to do today is triple down on his decision. Like, we did the right thing. He's probably going to lie again. We got everyone out, even though we know for a fact that there are still American citizens trapped there. We know that. He's going to ignore the fact that we left all those weapons over there. He'll say nothing about it. They have probably the third largest military in the world now, at least, from a weapons technology standpoint. They got Black Hawk helicopters. They got tanks. They got rifles. They've got so many weapons in their arsenal. We literally just armed our enemies, people who hate this country. And on top of that, we're flying in military-aged men from Afghanistan, unvetted. We don't know what their intentions are. And yeah, that's where we are in the country. I want to make sure I get to the super chats because I mistakenly missed one yesterday, but I reached out to him to say thank you. Robert Manley says electric vehicles in New Orleans are grounded now. Okay. Good to know. Appreciate you for the super chat. Man, so this guy is just, that's why you don't see any Build Back Better fans right now, because they what can they say? What can they say? other than, well, Orange Man was bad. He tweeted these things. But like I've said before, Biden has actually said so much just in 6 months. Sorry, 8.5 months. Done worse. Falling asleep, walking away, looking at his watch. I just can't get over this. This is the worst. This is the lowest of the low as it relates to what he's done. And unfortunately, he's probably going to reach another low because children got killed in his airstrike attack. Oh, yeah, we got back at the suicide bombers. The suicide bombers that killed our 13 servicemen, we got back at them. Actually, no, you didn't. You didn't get back at them because there were kids killed. You killed innocent people in your retaliation. So he's probably just going to pat himself on the back today in the media, watch the media pivot away from this. They'll either drop this entire story and move back to COVID because that's their sacred cow. That's their shiny new toy that they can just continue using. COVID. They'll pivot to that. Or they'll say, you know what? When you look at the grand scheme of things, Joe Biden is a brave man for ending America's longest war. He deserves credit. I shared an article on my Telegram. Shameless plug. Find me on Telegram. I shared an article there where they actually say Biden deserves credit for Afghanistan and the withdrawal. It's actually a good thing. Have you ever been gaslit so hard? It's so like the gaslighting is supposed to be subtle. It's supposed to be, convincing. But when it's so blatantly obvious that they're just lying to you and propagandizing, then it's just like, man, you guys are pathetic. You guys don't even try anymore. So that's where they're going to pivot to. They're just going to say like, hey, this was actually a good job. He's fine. Biden deserves credit. They went from blaming you for the rise of the Taliban. Remember, I shared an article last week where I believe it was CBS. CBS said that, it's climate change that led to the rise of the Taliban. Climate change meaning you, pickup truck driver, you steak eater, you person with the carbon footprint, a fraction of the size of John Kerry's, but that's another story. It's your fault that the Taliban rose to power. It's not Biden. It's not Mark Milley. It's not the incompetence at the Pentagon. It's you. It's your fault. So you should probably just take these refugees in and shut up. That's basically where we're at. But I don't want to dwell on this. There's too many other stories to cover. I mean, we're probably going to hear, I'll probably have more to say after he inevitably speaks today and claims victory. That's probably what's going to happen. So there'll be more to talk about, but we'll just move on because this is just crazy. Yeah, guys. So the teacher in California. Oh, yeah. Before I even get to that, I hope you guys got a chance to check out the interview I did with Kevin Kiley yesterday, a candidate for governor in California. That was not me endorsing him. You remember I kind of said like, yeah, if I had to endorse somebody, it'd probably be Larry Elder. But I still wanted to give this guy an opportunity to share his ideas and his vision for California. And I'm just putting, walking the walk, essentially, vetting people. And I'm not even in California. I do not have a dog in that fight. I'm just observing from afar, literally from afar, the opposite side of the country. And I wanted to give him an opportunity to present his case for why he should be governor. And I've read some of the comments. Some of you guys said, no, he's a rhino. He's this, he's that. Some people liked him. The whole reason I reached out to him from the jump is because somebody said Kevin Kiley is the man. So I looked him up and he responded to me on Twitter and I got in touch with his campaign manager. And then, the rest was history. So I interviewed him. Seems like a nice guy. I mean, his answers were pretty polished. I'd say that. Some people might say he came across as a stereotypical politician. Well, I mean, he's been in politics as far as I know, for his entire career. I don't know if he's an entrepreneur previously or business owner or came from the private sector, but he's a politician currently in the state legislature in California, which means he at least understands what's going on there. And who knows how this is going to play out. If, in fact, Gavin Newsom is recalled and Larry Elder does become governor, you never know. He might end up working for Larry Elder. Who knows? I mean, it's one of those things where California is in such rough shape that any Republican, rhino or not, would be better than Gavin Newsom. Right? I mean, what can you do when your alternatives are whatever list there are of people running? It's kind of like here in Florida, right? We've got a Senate seat that is on the ballot in 2022. That is Marco Rubio's Senate seat. Is Marco Rubio the best man for the job? No, I don't think he is. But he's running against Val Demings. So I'm going to vote for Marco Rubio. Right? But that's not because I think, oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's so pro-America. He's not a rhino. But the alternative is Val Demings, who wants to completely destroy Florida's economy, is totally not America first. He's just, I mean, all about critical race theory, the entire leftist agenda. That's Val Demings. So what do you do in a situation where you have a rhino or a radical Democrat running? What do? You vote for the rhino. Unfortunately, either you vote for the rhino or you just don't vote. I don't know. But that's the situation California's in. And I want to bring it back to this video here I'm about to show you. I asked him some tough questions. I asked him if he thought the election was stolen. I asked him about what he's going to do to, snuff out all the radical indoctrination of kids in California, because you see, California is like ground zero for leftist indoctrination. They're the most extreme. Children can get sex changes without their parents knowing about it. Just a lot of sick, sadistic agendas are playing out on school children in California. And that tends to, extrapolate out to the rest of the country. It tends to spread to the rest of the country. It starts in California. And so I want to talk about this teacher here. And I don't know if you saw this video, but I talked about it to him yesterday and he didn't even know about it. But this teacher, I'm just going to play the video. You guys have probably already seen this, but if you haven't, this is it's not shocking, but it'll still piss you off.
Okay, so during third period, we have announcements and they do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always tell my class, stand if you feel like it, don't stand if you feel like it, say the words if you want, don't have to say the words. So my class decided to stand but not say the words. Totally fine. Except for the fact that my room does not have a flag. It used to be there, but I took it down during COVID because it made me uncomfortable. And I packed it away and I don't know where, and I haven't found it yet. But my kid today goes, hey, it's kind of weird that we just stand and then, we say it to nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, I got to find it. Like, I'm working on it. I got you. In the meantime, I tell this kid, we do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around and he goes, oh, that one?
Yeah. So during a time where America is bowing its head in shame as we have the most sloppiest exit strategy possible from a country that we've been at war with for 20 years, and we got 13 fallen servicemen, the big thing for this lady, this teacher in California, is let's have children, worship or pledge allegiance to the pride flag, not the American flag, not the unifying flag, the pride flag. That's what this teacher is about. That's what her agenda is, right? And this is who has access to children. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me noticing this. Is it just me, or are the worst people having unfiltered, unregulated access to children? How many videos of teachers have we covered on this channel that have said something crazy, said something inappropriate, have bullied children. They all seem off their rocker. They don't look like stable geniuses. They're not doing, I don't know, they're not educating kids. They're indoctrinating them. Hey, you can pledge allegiance to this pride flag, this LGBT BLM pride flag. And she looks crazy. Right? And so they're investigating her, right? This, I guess the, I don't know, school board or school district, whoever's in charge over there in California is investigating this. Now, she shouldn't be allowed to be around children at all, let alone be in a position of trust, a position of authority to indoctrinate these children. This is like reason number 5,000 to homeschool your kid while it's still legal. Homeschool your kid, because you send them into public schools, especially in leftist areas like California, New York, San Francisco, Seattle. You send them there and they're going to come out more radical than her. She looks like a millennial, which means she probably had a semi-normal education. And look how she turned out. Probably went to college and got radicalized. And now she's in this position of trust and power. And she gets to indoctrinate and radicalize the next generation. Where did we go wrong? How did we get here? Right? I'd rather kids just be learning about dinosaurs. I'd rather them learn about dinosaurs than be learning about the pride flag, when the only flag that matters is the American flag. So the priorities are so completely out of whack when you've got teachers indoctrinating kids, sexualizing kids, confusing them, robbing them of their innocence. And if that's not bad enough, childhood obesity spiked during COVID lockdowns. You don't say, when you close down playgrounds, gyms, when you basically just shut down fun and physical activities for kids, there's consequences. Wow. Who knew that kids would be obese or start gaining weight because you brought society to a screeching halt? I mean, do you really have to be some expert to know that locking kids down, locking society down for that matter, for any amount of time is going to have mental, physical, and emotional effects? So this article says the number of American children who are overweight or obese has surged by a relative increase of almost 24% since the COVID pandemic began. See, don't you love how they admit that their measures to keep kids safe actually have the opposite effect? Because doesn't obesity make you more susceptible to the very virus they locked you down to save you from? Does? Like, come on. Locking you down, making you fatter, makes you more susceptible to the virus that they're locking you down to save you from. Anyway, I love how they just admit it. They just come right out and admit it, but they still tell you, yeah, we got to mask up children and all of this nonsense. So anyway, an analysis by the University of Michigan and Kaiser Permanente, Southern California, found that children gain excess weight during the pandemic, particularly children ages 5 to 11. They're not yet approved to be vaccinated, but they soon will be. Anyway, while 36.2% of children in that age group were overweight or obese between March 2019 and January 2020, that figure rose to 45.7% between March 2020 and January 2021, an absolute increase of 8.7%. And a relative increase of 23.8%. So it's not just that they locked kids down, shut down playgrounds, physical activity, made them depressed, had them looking at computer screens to learn as opposed to in-person learning. It's the junk food that they probably ate, the FDA approved stuff with all the red dye, number 40s, all the dyes and high fructose corn syrup and aspartame and all the junk that's FDA approved. don't even want to go down the rabbit hole of FDA approval and why. I mean, at the very least, it's not very respectable. It doesn't mean a whole lot. Oh, it's FDA approved. Cool. So is all the chemicals and pesticides on our food that you're feeding these kids while they're locked down and can't even work off the weight. Anyway, meanwhile, children between the ages of 12 and 15 recorded a 13.4% relative increase in overweight or obesity, while 16 and 17-year-olds saw an 8.3% relative increase, according to the study, which was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Here we go. When we compared the weight gain among children from 2019 to 2020, we found that there was more weight gain during the pandemic for youths of all ages. So they admit it, guys. Don't you love how they admit it? They admit it. Yes, we fortified the election. Yes, lockdowns make people fatter. Yes, vaccinated people can shed the virus. They always admit it. What's a conspiracy theory today, what's right-wing misinformation today, is mainstream news tomorrow. The timeline has shrunk from the time that this fake information comes out to the time that they actually admit it. Used to be a couple years. Now it's like a couple weeks, couple months. Then they admit that it has the opposite effect. This should be no shock to anybody who pays attention. This is like the most common sense thing. We lock down children for their safety and for their health, and as a result, it made them more unhealthy than the thing we locked them down to save them from. But that's not even their big priority. The big priority is the U.S. Department of Education opened civil rights probe of school face mask bans in latest clash between Republican governors and the Biden administration. So their big priority, the big fish they want to fry, is going after Republican governors for telling parents they have the right to choose whether or not to muzzle their kid to go to school. That is their big push. That is their top priority. It's not weeding out these radical teachers. It's not solving or trying to curtail the childhood obesity spiking. It's you need to muzzle your children. And we're going to go after the leadership that's protecting you and preserving your right to decide what's best for your child. So they're targeting 5 states, which I can tell you right off the bat is Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. I know those 3. This article, I didn't even skim this article because the headline is bad enough. You don't even need to read the article. They're opening a civil rights probe. It's a civil rights issue. Talk about inverted reality. It's actually civil rights are being violated of school districts, not the individual, not their civil rights. Children want to breathe clean air, not breathing their own carbon dioxide from a filthy face diaper. That's not a civil right violation. Actually, they should be forced to wear those masks, because the U.S. Department of Education clearly cares about the health of children. Now, how long before the studies come out to confirm the right-wing misinformation that the face mask, and of course, Rand Paul even said this and got thrown off YouTube, and it has an adverse reaction. It has negative impacts on the health of kids. How long before they admit what's so obvious right now? Locking children down, making them walk around with face diapers on, keeping them from their social development, their physical development, mental development. When they go to school, they sit down in these stupid little cubicle desks. Now, when are they going to actually admit, like, you know what, that was actually a mistake, but we're still going to do it anyway? As soon as they admit that, then I mean, if you don't already know, that the information that you're hearing now has already been talked about. We knew a lot of this stuff. It's just crazy to see how, and even I was talking to family about this, like, I know it seems like a lot of what I say is conspiratorial and it's speculation, but then when it comes out like 6-7 months later, then you're like, wow, it's like, yeah, I told you about this last year. How is it that just your average Joe on YouTube, me, I knew about the nursing home scandal last year and it didn't come out as mainstream news until this year? Now people are like, can you believe Cuomo did this? It's like, yeah, we knew about it last year, but it was a cover up. They didn't want to talk about it until now. So, man, that's just wild, man. Like, their top priority is muzzling children and going after Republican governors who stand in their way. That's the top priority, while they simultaneously tell you, we're doing this for your health. Anyways, moving along. This video right here is from Portland. I guess it's from earlier in the month, but it just now surfaced. This woman crashes a BLM press conference and she goes off on Antifa. I mean, at one point it kind of devolved, but you'll see. This woman, I'm just going to show you guys. I'm going to shut up and show you. This was pretty good. This will probably make you feel good.
White supremacy is not the problem. The Proud Boys were not the problem. Antifa Black Bloc are the ones who threw bombs, mortars, and pepper spray at me and my children.
Yeah, he loves what you're doing, huh?
Fascist USA! No cops! No KKK! No fascist USA! No cops! No KKK! No fascist USA!
It sounds like a cult. It's such a cult.
My baby girl, 8 years old, nearly was hit in the face with an explosive by white people dressed up in all black, attacking me and my family. It is not the Proud Boys. And you, the city of Portland, and everybody who supports them needs to know this. My black children were almost hit with bombs and mortars. My 9-year-old son was drenched in pepper gas thrown by Antifa. Boy, if Black Lives Matter to you, you better back up. They did not. Yes, they are part of the problem. Yes, they are part of the problem. But you know what? You, and you are the problem. Every single local news station denied my story. You rejected it in favor of one man with an airsoft gun. No Proud Boys were present that day. The event hadn't even started yet. We were shaking hands, saying our hellos, smiling at each other, having fun. And Black Bloc Antifa marched in, screaming, "Hail," chanting, "Hail Satan," and screaming, "Where's your God now?"
No surprises
Okay,
there.
it's on video. And you were probably there.
I may have been. Antifa
Yeah.
doesn't
Did you hear it? I may have been.
Beta male alert. You see that?
That's the problem in this city. They beat and terrorize an Asian gay man who still has to fear for his life, who still hides from them. They still threaten his life. A gay Asian man. Stop Asian hate. Stop black hate. The Proud Boys were invented because Antifa was the one who was terrorizing us. My husband, we are a one-income family, and Antifa has been trying to get him to lose his job. And that would put 10 black people out of a home.
Your husband is
out
very
of a
dangerous.
job.
Your husband is extremely dangerous.
Whoa,
Quincy,
Justin.
Quincy,
No,
Quincy
you have
is
never
extremely-
once seen him
Quincy.
be violent in any way, shape, or
Quincy,
form.
Quincy is
Antifa
extremely
beat
dangerous.
up a transgender down here on these streets. It was a man transitioning to a woman. She was broken, sitting on the sidewalk because they took her backpack, her skateboard, and she said, "I have nothing left." She was begging for her stuff back.
Okay.
And then the man who tried to stop them was beat in the street. That person. You're speaking over a deaf person. You know what?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're speaking over a deaf person. Okay, so it kind of devolves from there, but you get the point. She went off exposing the hypocrisy. She's like, hey, look, You guys all care about, you virtue signal all day, Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, but it's you that attacked Andy Ngo and beat him up, a Black Asian immigrant. It's you that pepper sprayed Black children. It's you right now trying to silence a Black voice. I thought we were supposed to elevate the voices of Black women, but they try to silence her. And then they try to flip the script and say, well, and this is why identity politics is such cancer, because then they're like, well, you're silencing a deaf man. It's just like, it's this constant Olympic jockeying for position. The most oppressed person should have the biggest platform to speak. Or in this case, if it's a deaf person, they're not able to. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're like, well, you're interrupting a deaf man right now. So basically what you're saying has no weight. That's why it's all bad. But she made her point by exposing them, calling them out, saying, hey, I thought you cared about Black people, but you're over here pepper spraying us. And Antifa, an almost completely racially homogenous militia group, a militant, like basically, I don't know, the enforcement arm of the Democrat Party. I mean, they basically shill for the establishment. They'll come attack you if you're pro-freedom. You don't even have to be a right-wing agitator. If you just go out and stand for liberty, you hold up a sign saying no mandates, they'll come and beat you up. And they don't care if you're Black. They don't care if you're Hispanic. They don't care if you're gay. If you're not towing the line of the establishment, the authoritarian left, they'll come and beat you senseless. But the narrative, the ongoing narrative is watch out for the Proud Boys. They hate Black people. I know some Proud Boys. I've never seen them go and target someone for their race, for their gender, for their sexual orientation, for any of that. They've never done that. Now, sometimes they do go out kind of looking for fights. They kind of go out like trying to call Antifa out for whatever conflict. But for the most part, they're like, if nobody if these people, like, for example, this woman and her children were out in the street protesting and they got surrounded by Antifa. If it's in a city like Portland where cops are basically encouraged to stand down, who would defend them if not for the Proud Boys? And that's not me just saying, oh, the Proud Boys are so amazing. I mean, I don't think they're bad. I know some of them, like I said. But I mean, it is what it is. This is the reality. Antifa is out there terrorizing cities like Portland. And of course, they're chanting Hail Satan. Who's shocked by that? You know, a lot of the stuff that's happening is evil being exposed. Evil is being revealed before you. And people think, oh, it's just photoshopped, it's doctored. Like when I shared that video like a week and a half ago of the satanic ritual being aired in the middle of a news clip, ABC News. They air a satanic ritual clip right in the middle of their newscast, their live television broadcast. And then on top of that, they didn't apologize for it. They didn't explain it. They just glossed over it like it didn't happen. So what are you supposed to believe? What are you supposed to think? What are you supposed to think when there's all of this evil and wicked energy out in the open? When teachers are telling kids to pledge allegiance to the pride flag instead of the American flag. And I love that, you know, people are building courage. They're finding their voice. God bless this woman, finding her voice and having the courage to go and expose it in front of cameras, interrupting press conferences. I have no idea what this press conference was for. I think it was a BLM or Antifa press conference, something of that sort. She went and interrupted it. And God bless her for it. That was incredible. I love seeing all this pushback. I love seeing parents that go to these school board meetings and they're pushing back on the CRT indoctrination. People are gathering, pushing back against the mandates. They're standing tall and proud. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care which side of the political aisle you fall on. If you stand for freedom and liberty, I will stand next to you. It's that simple. Super chat from Mark Roberts. Mark says, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you. So I've covered everything that I wanted to thus far. I guess for people that just joined, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, guys. Let's circumvent the YouTube algorithms. Best way to do that is interaction. So please like this stream. I mean, if you missed me talking about Joe Biden at the beginning, I covered everything from him falling asleep to looking at his watch, turning his back on the press, arguing with the press, saying the buck stops with him, and then blaming Trump, blaming everyone else for his mismanagement. You had 13 fallen U.S. soldiers returned in pine boxes, and the man's looking at his watch. This is a brand new low. He left service dogs behind, left American citizens behind, military equipment behind, all because of Trump derangement syndrome. Trump had a plan in place. Biden said, no, scrap that. Even if it makes sense, Orange Man did it, so we can't do it. That's Trump derangement syndrome, the epitome of it. And with the, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe this was by design. The collapse of Afghanistan seems like it's by design. Like only in Hollywood could you see something like this unfold, where you literally leave all these weapons, helicopters, everything the Taliban needs to form a strong military defense. You armed the Taliban. You left American citizens behind. That sounds like a Hollywood plot right there. Who knows? Maybe he set the stage to re-enter Afghanistan. Maybe this is a justification to just hit the restart button. Who knows? But he reached a new low. And the 81 million strong are nowhere to be found. I don't see them. I don't hear from them. Where are they at now? While this man's looking at his watch, he's got somewhere better to be than welcoming back the people that died because of his decisions. I'm just so disgusted by this man. He's repulsive. I thought he was just an incompetent loser. He's worse than that. He's evil. So they're celebrating with our guns, shooting their guns in the air, celebrating a victory. The media is eventually going to tell you, they'll probably start the pivot today after his press conference that, you know, through it all, Joe Biden is still a hero. He made the tough call by ending the Afghanistan war. It's a victory if you really look at it. If you squint your eyes and tilt your head to the side and do enough mental gymnastics, this is a victory, even though the Taliban feel victorious. That's why they're celebrating, you know, taking photos with ice cream, you know, mocking us, shooting our guns into the air in celebration. They're celebrating victory. Even though all of that's happening, even though they're telling you that we got everyone out, there's nobody there that doesn't want to be there. We see the stories of people saying, yeah, I wanted to get out. I couldn't get out. That the gaslighting and the shilling, the propaganda, that's going to continue. That's going to pick up. It hasn't really happened much yet, but it will. It will. Just watch, probably starting with tonight's coverage on MSNBC and CNN. It's finally over, guys. This is a good thing. And Biden, he can get back to governing responsibly. That's what will happen. So I covered all that. I don't think I have anything else. I mean, I can just look through some of these Daily Mail articles. Mother of Marine killed in ISIS bomb attack has her Instagram account disabled after she blamed Biden for her son's death and claimed president rolled his eyes and turned his back on her when she confronted him. Wow. That's not surprising. Social media's in on it. I just can't believe it. I mean, I can, but I can't. It's just not really surprising anymore. It's just, what low will he sink to next? Anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to wrap. We're almost at an hour. I appreciate everybody that has tuned in today. You guys are great. Pookie P says, much love from Free Florida. DM says, so sick, evil, vile, and sad. Oh, I saw your comment earlier, DM, about the the interview I did with Kevin Kiley yesterday, he evaded some of my questions. Here's the thing. I didn't need to push back on him because I know that the audience could see. That's the thing, is I wanted to just try to be objective and just let him speak and then let you be the judge. I could have easily pushed back, but I wanted to be respectful of the man's time. I think he's pretty busy. That's why I kept it to under 30 minutes. But yeah, he did evade some of the questions. And I actually, when I asked him about the 2020 election, I think I asked, was the 2020 election stolen from Trump? Which I probably should have said, did Biden win the election fair and square? Because if he believes that Biden won the election fair and square, he would have said yes. Whereas asking him, did Trump get robbed? If he believed that, he would have to give a more scripted answer instead of outright saying it. Does that make sense? If I would have just said, hey, do you think Joe Biden won the 2020 election fair and square? I mean, that puts him in a situation where it's like, well, I probably could have got a more revealing answer. I think that's something that I thought about after the fact. But if I ever get a chance to interview one of these politicians again that's running for a position like governor, I'm going to ask that way. Matter of fact, I think that's a perfect opening question for vetting a candidate. Was the 2020 election stolen? Or do you think that Biden legitimately won the 2020 election? Do you think he got 81 million votes? See what kind of answer you get there. DMs, you say, I know what you were doing. It was perfect. You showed him to be a typical politician. And that wasn't even my goal. My goal was not to expose him. I genuinely asked those questions in good faith. I just wanted to know more about his campaign and his thoughts, his ideas. I just was curious. If I had Larry Elder on as a guest, I would have asked him the same questions. In fact, I probably would ask him to elaborate a little bit more about how he thinks, and I don't remember what his verbatim answer was, but he was asked about the 2020 election. So I probably would have pressed him a little bit more on that, but I would have asked the same questions. California is our largest state, and we're going to see how that plays out. I think this is such an important election. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, it could potentially restore some faith it could restore some faith in our election system if somehow any Republican, whether it's Kevin Kiley or Larry Elder or whoever else is running, if they somehow manage to win, well, then would people still say that it's rigged? I don't know. I mean, it's obviously rigged. We obviously have problems. There's obviously mail-in ballots, no voter ID, all that stuff. But if somehow, in spite of all that, Larry Elder wins, let's say Larry Elder wins, then how do you feel about elections, at least in California? You probably feel at least a little bit better. I don't know. Might give you a tiny bit of optimism, even if it's short-lived. The Joker says, how can you tell the truth is being told when Facebook blocks it, Twitter deletes it, Google hides it, YouTube bans it, your government forbids it, and media brands it as conspiracy theory? That's legit right there. So true. But yeah, I covered everything in the stream. I talked about, it's just so depressing. I wish I had better news. I guess the only good news I could report was that the judge in Illinois who stripped a woman of her parental rights actually reversed his decision. Some people said, there's more to the story than that, Mike. You really need to look into it. Well, if there was more to the story, then why did he just reverse it? There could have been more to the story if he just reversed it. And I read the statement, his official statement, say that there was basically no accusations being made by the father or anyone else. There was nothing that prevented her from seeing her mother, other than seeing her son, other than this judge's decision to strip her of her parental rights because of her vaccination status. That was it. So that was just it. And it makes sense because so many local news outlets, which tend to be more trustworthy than mainstream national news outlets, so many of them reported it just as it was. And it's not like the mother was in on it. She said that she got stripped of her parental rights because she wasn't vaccinated. Well, that judge reversed his decision, which is good news, but it's still scary because that was arbitrary enforcement, and that's apparently happening in other parts of the country. So something to keep our eyes on. This draconian, dystopian rollout is it's accelerating. So anyway, that's a wrap for this stream, guys. Appreciate you all for tuning in. God bless you. God bless the moderators. Thanks again to, I want to say the names again. Ernie and Michelle, thank you so much for the card and the donation. You guys are amazing. Thanks to all the super chatters, people that email. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll catch you in the next stream.